students, I'm going to go through your MSTRG assignment. So, as you can see, I have like 3 screens going on here, but we are going to go through the first case here, which is admission date 9/4/2022. It's really important you have the correct year, 9/9/2022. So with this, we have Max. He's a 5-year-old boy. So you can see how I have everything in the encoder. DRG finder. The grouper is still Medicare, even though he's 5. Okay. So I'm going to pull that down. We are going to pull up the code book. So with that, we have he had fatigue. Okay. And right in there, I state this is not the principal diagnosis. Okay. So reading through all of this, once you read through your documentation, he does have the idiopathic aplastic anemia. So of course I went to anemia, then aplastic. If I go down to idiopathic, it is D6 1.3. Make sure you always double check it in your tabular to make sure we're not missing any notes and to make sure we don't need extra digits. All right, so that is our first code. Okay, so our diagnosis code is right there. You cannot code, it's asking for principal diagnosis. Keep in mind, when it says diagnosis, that's 1. Don't be adding a secondary. Plus, you're not going to add fatigue because with that, that is going to be integral to the aplastic anemia. POA designation, I will show you how we enter that, but they did come in with fatigue. The reason for the fatigue is because of the anemia, so this is going to be a yes indicator. Okay, bone marrow biopsy. So if you're using the book, you're going to go to procedures. A couple of different ways. You can maybe start off here with just type it in biopsy. And then it gives you some different options here. Drainage, excision, extraction. Okay, so with that, you need to know your route, what you're going to be using. You need to read through what they have going on. So with this, we are going to use the extraction. So even if I go to the extraction, okay, so we have bone marrow. It's going to take me down to bone marrow, 07D, and it does state iliac. So it takes me to there. Okay, so then I need to know, is it open or percutaneous? It is done percutaneous, so I do want to go 3, pull this over. We have no device. And then with that, we want X because it does state diagnostic. All right. So with all of that, and then we have our 2 procedure codes, one for the blood and platelet transfusion. So hopefully you got those right. I'll plug those in as we go through the DRG finder. Okay, so let's go start off here. We have all this in. I'm going to hit continue. Patient did disposition was home. The admit diagnosis, as we stated, is, go back up here, the R 53.83. Hit OK. That takes me now. I'm going to hit add diagnosis, which now it's going to be principal. And that is going to be the D61.3. All right, so I have that in. See how everything is admit, the principal diagnosis. I am going to now add procedure, add in my 3 procedures. The first one is going to be the 07D R3 ZX. I'm going to hit OK. So that's our extraction of the bone marrow. And then we have 2 more procedures to put in. And these are going to be the 2 that I talked about with transfusion for the blood and platelets. So 2 different codes, 032, 33, and 1. meant to be for transfusion for the blood, red blood cells, peripheral vein, percutaneous approach. Now let's go ahead and get the platelets. Once again, you can go to the code book to find these first, whatever is easier for you. Okay, so there we have all that. Here's a little trick to when we go back up here, how do we enter that Y in here? So if I go to the D6 one, I'm going to right click that area. And with that, this all pops up, which is great. So I'm going to hit present on emission. And yes, it was. I'm going to hit a Y, hit OK. And now look, it pops up right there. So I'm good to go. Everything is correct. And my DRG 810. My MDC is 016. The weight, and then the total cost. Okay. All right, let's go to next patient. Next patient here is 1/3/2022. Okay, so and also we have Mary Waters. We're gonna have to switch everything over to, it says she's a female. Get everything there switched. And she is 69 years old. Let's look here, disposition. She did go home. So we have everything in order. She's 69. Continue. She went home. Okay, admitting diagnosis. Let's just kind of look at this. She came in for a thyroidectomy. Okay, so with that, she had problems with swallowing, progressive symptoms. So any of that you could have did, possibly maybe looking at the symptoms with progressive symptoms with the goiter. So what I'm going to do, one thing to remember, you can bypass that admitting diagnosis. Just make sure you do bypass it and don't accidentally put your principal diagnosis in there. See, now I'm looking where I'm at principal diagnosis. I'm going to go ahead, we're just going to kind of go right E04.2. One thing with this, it does state that it's multi-goiter, that is benign. So make sure you have that correct. Okay. Oops, one here. Too many screens open. All right, so let's go to the next section. And then we are going to code the next secondary diagnosis, which is going to be H90.5, and that is for the sensonerial hearing loss. So that's going to be H50.5. Hit OK. Whoops. H90.5. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. And we go on to our next code for the osteoporosis, which should be M81.0. Okay. Then we are going to do the thyroid. A couple of different things here I always like to mention to students is the root operation is total removal. So when you have a total removal, that's resection. Keep in mind excision, you're only taking part of it out. They're doing a total, so that means you take out the whole thyroid. We're going to add that procedure in here. I have 0 GT K0 ZZ. All right, so resection of the thyroid gland, it's open. Let's state it right in there. Okay, so the PO indicator for the multinodular goiter is N. This is a false statement. The PO indicator for the ICD-10 should be yes. Keep that in mind. So with that, up here, go down. So we have all that. I am going to now